Would you stay till the morning light, or would you follow me?
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kayla, and if you're not new, thanks for coming back. Always happy to have you. Today I'm starting a new maybe not mini series here on my channel. If you are new, I like to post a lot of book and lifestyle content, so if anything like that is interesting for you, make sure you hit that red subscribe button and stick around. We are starting a bookish mini series here on this channel that could potentially be a long-term series. I kind of was thinking lately that I wanted to create more bookish content, but just to be more regular in my conversations about the book world. So I got an idea to review every book that I read this year in 2022, which I'm planning on reading a lot, which I was like, that might be a bit of a commitment. Alas, I think I figured out a way to do that, because the main reason I started this channel was to engage in bookish conversations with bookish people that like to read and share my thoughts and opinions. One of my favorite things is when I post a book review and somebody else comments their thoughts and we can have a little bit of a dialogue. It makes me feel like I am surrounded by bookish people and just in the bookish world all the time, which is great. Book reviews are some of my most popular videos on my channel, and they're some of the most fun for me to make. So I've tried to figure out a way to alter how I do book reviews in a way that I can do with more volume of reading, if that makes sense. If you also watched my recent video, which was a get ready with me to go on a date, I give you a huge life update that there is a lot going on in my life. I'm moving, I started a new job, I have a boyfriend now. There's a lot happening and I'm very, very busy, especially for the next few months. It's really the crunch time for me to move and just a lot happening. So I needed to be able to create some sort of way of producing or routine of producing content that was quality and was about what I wanted to talk about, books, that I could create really quickly and have like consistent, quick content to edit, if that makes sense. I have decided that I would like to do a mini review series, which is different from my regular book reviews, but still giving you more book review content. Typically when I do a book review, I like to do like a deep dive into the book, give all of my thoughts, really work through the whole book, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that stuff, and give you my thoughts on if you should read it, ask for yours, all of that good stuff. These videos can be a little bit long, sometimes 25 to 30 minutes if I have a lot to say about a book. And that is a lot to edit, because typically like a 30-minute video is like maybe an hour of footage. My goal with this is to create mini reviews that are really concise but give you my opinions, my thoughts, all of that good stuff, all the same things that you seek in a book review without taking 30 minutes to do so. I feel like if I can figure out this structure, I can do all of the books that I've read this year. Similar to what we were doing before, same quality content, but a little bit more regular, a little bit more concise, is the goal with this mini book review series. I started 2022 with the goal to read 30 books. I am already like on track, ahead of schedule for those 30 books. I've already read 10 this year and I'm on my 11th right now, which is like 2 or 3 books ahead of schedule. What I want to do is start back reviewing all the books that I've read so far this year and keep reviewing the ones that I come up with throughout the year. I still plan on doing some like more in-depth reviews, just because some books I feel like that are on my list to read, I'm going to have a lot to say. I also want to say that I want that dialogue piece to be consistent even in these mini book reviews, because like I said before, that is one of my favorite parts of making book reviews, is hearing you guys' thoughts, answering your questions, engaging with you guys in a bookish sort of way. So that is still the goal. Still give me your thoughts, give me your feedback, ask me questions. Let's have a dialogue, let's be bookish together. Like, reading can be a very solitary experience, but I love using YouTube as a way to make it not so solitary. The structure of these reviews is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to try to be more concise, so I've given myself kind of 4 parts to these videos, right? 4 parts to talk about throughout the video in this review. So first part is pros and cons, the good and the bad of the books. If there's anything ugly, we gonna talk about it, of course. But mainly the pros and cons will be the bulk of the review, because when I'm looking to hear about a book to decide if I should read it or not, I wanna know the good and the bad before I waste my time getting into it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna give it a star rating. I feel like I do this a lot in my book reviews, but I want to just be upfront. It's an easy system. 4 out of 5 stars. What are you giving this read? any other thoughts that I have, like if maybe there's something contentious with the author, and like other thoughts that are impacting the reading experience or on my mind about the book, and should you read the book, do I think it's worth your time, are kind of the main parts that I'm thinking. Also, I just want to say really quickly, I apologize if you can hear somebody mowing their lawn in the background. I just realized that that might be coming through in the audio, and that might be a little annoying. I apologize. Without further ado, by the title of this video, you know what book we're talking about today, and that is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This is a Reese's book club pick, which you can see. I'm always a little bit hesitant of like Reese's book club picks and Oprah's book club picks, because I feel like they're all very similar. Like they're all also, I feel like, a very distinct vibe that is not always my reading style. So I picked up this book because it is actually a read for my family book club. This was Julie's pick for our little hiatus for the winter time. So I picked it up, I read it. 'Tis a New York Times bestseller. We are going to talk about it. I forgot another part of the video that I'm going to be adding to these reviews that's going to be very small, which is a summary. Let's dive on in. So a brief summary of this book is basically that it follows the main character, Hannah, who comes home one day and is approached by a little girl who gives her a note from her husband that just says, protect her. Her husband is involved with a company that is currently in a fraudulent scam, and he has gone off the grid, he's disappeared, and he has a really long, complicated history that she knew basically nothing about before she married him, and now she is charged with protecting his teenage daughter, and they have to go on this whole adventure to figure out where Owen has gone, what is his backstory, what's going on, and will they ever see him again? And are they safe? It is about 300 pages in length, and it is a thriller. So if you're into that vibe, that's what it is. Let's talk about the pros and cons before I get into my rating, because the rating is a little complicated for this book. So the pros for this book that I found, or the good things, are that it dove right in. This story picked up and just like from page one, ran. Like you had no like easing into this book. You're thrown right in the middle. The action is happening. You feel a little late to the action, to be honest. Okay, this book moves super fast, so if you're in need of like just a quick page turner read, this is a great page turner. I read this book in maybe 2.5 days. I would honestly read for an hour and 100 pages would have gone by, so it was really easy for me to read the whole thing in like 2.5 days, because it only took me like 2 hours to read. It moves that fast. A lot is happening and you just kind of like don't even realize that the pages are flying. I think this is a really interesting concept. It's very complicated. A lot of forethought went into it. But I think it's a cool experience that could happen, but not a lot of people get to have this experience. Yeah, it could happen to you, but it's not likely to happen to the average Joe, right? That your husband just disappears and goes off the grid and may be involved in a fraud scam. You don't know, like hopefully that does not happen to any of us, but could happen to you, but isn't super likely. So it's cool to see kind of what the process would be or what would happen in that experience without having to go through that challenge yourself. And one thing that I thought was, I don't usually point this out, I feel like in reviews, or maybe I do. Either way, I feel like this had some cool real life settings that I would want to explore that I feel like I don't really connect with that in books like of this nature, of this variety. But like I talked about Sausalito, is that how you say it? Sausalito, California, and Austin, Texas. I've been wanting to go to Austin for a very long time. So these settings are described in a way that like just makes you want to visit them and kind of experience them, be like, that'd be a cool place to live. And kind of the last pro for me, or good thing, which I don't know if it's really a good thing, like the main character was fine. Like I didn't love her, like she wasn't my new favorite main character. I wasn't like, sister, you rock, right? Hannah is just okay. But I didn't hate her either, which I feel like is something good. Like I didn't be like, I can't read this book because the main character sucks. And the whole time I was still rooting for her. Like I didn't overly love her, but I was still rooting for her. So the main character, I think, with the situation she's dealt, is a solid character, because she could have gone a lot of different ways with what's going on, but I think she was pretty stand up. Now we're gonna move into the cons, or the bad things. And there's not too many, but there are some, honestly. And I'm trying to do this spoiler free. right? So I want you guys to read it and enjoy it, or give me your thoughts. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, so I'm not gonna spoil it. The outcome, the ending, is way too far-fetched to be realistic or to be believable or for me to buy into. Like, the history of Owen, that many things can't happen to one person. It's just not logical, right? Like, it just doesn't, it's impossible. So it's really hard for me to buy into the ending when you're like waiting for this thing to build and like for it to be like, whoa, light bulb moment. And you're like, yeah, light bulb moment, but that wouldn't ever happen. You know what I mean? It's kind of a turnoff for me. This is the same problem I had with The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I think that's his last name. The Silent Patient, I thought the same thing. I got to the end and I was like, that would never happen. But like, I appreciate you thinking outside the box. I literally wrote just basically impossible in my notes. One thing that, or before I move on, if you're the kind of person that reads like a mystery or a thriller and tries to piece it together and figure it out, like, you would not figure it out because it's so unrealistic that you're just like, your brain would never go there because logically it doesn't make sense. Like, it wouldn't be possible. So you're not going to figure this one out. I don't think, at least I couldn't. This is kind of a small thing, but I think a hallmark of a really dynamic book is that there are multiple characters that are well-rounded enough that you can kind of connect with and relate to, that you see enough of or are in depth enough for you to form a connection with. And that doesn't really happen in this book. Hannah's really the only character we see enough of or that spends enough time in the spotlight to really relate to. Owen, you don't really get that. His daughter Bailey, you maybe get a little bit more of, but not really. There's really no other outstanding character that you're like, I'm really rooting for, right? Like, Hannah is kind of the only one that you really want to succeed, which is sometimes a turnoff for me. Like, I like to have options. It read super fast, and this would normally be a good thing, but I don't know that it was. Like, I don't think I read it super fast because I was like, I love this book. I just wanted to know what happens at the end. And I feel like because I was just trying to get to that point at the end to figure it all out, that I didn't really take in a lot of the stuff in the middle. Like, honestly, I could maybe tell you 2 things that happen in the middle. And that's not the best reading experience. Like, I like to be engaged in taking it in as we go through the entire book. In this book, I was literally just reading to figure out what happened, to be like, where are you going with this, sister? That kind of leads me into my rating. Originally, when I finished this book, I went right to Goodreads and I was like, 5 stars, right? 5 stars immediately. And I gave it 5 stars because I finished it super fast. I was like, oh my God, I flew through this book. It must have been so good. 5 stars, golden sticker for you. Upon further review, not a 5-star read. I redact that 5 stars because I finished it super quickly, like I just mentioned, to get to the end, to figure out what happened, but not because I wanted to take in the story and really enjoy it, which is a hallmark for me of a 5-star read. So I redacted my 5 stars. And after I thought more about the ending and how unrealistic it is, I gave it like a 3.54. Not the best, right? But not the worst either. Still a good read, fairly enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my new favorite book, like a 5-star read should be. Like, I wouldn't go out and recommend every single person read this book. So 3.54 stars for me because it just went super fast. And I think really that ending, that unrealistic ending, really put a damper on it for me. So you are gonna have to give me your thoughts if you've read it. Did you think that this ending was really unrealistic, or am I alone in that? And does that ruin a book for you? Am I alone in that an unrealistic ending is a make or break point for me? Should you read this book? Do I think that you should read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave? If you want a fast read, if you want something that moves really quickly, if you're interested in mysteries and thrillers, I think it's a solid quick read. I think it's a cool concept. I think it's interesting. I don't know. Like, if you're interested into mysteries, it won't take you that long. But if you read mysteries and thrillers to figure it out, you're probably not going to because of this ending being so unrealistic. But I don't think everybody needs to run out and buy this read and buy this book and go get on the library wait list. It's a very hyped, I feel like very hyped and trendy read right now. Good, but not great. I'm not gonna be running around telling everybody that they need to go read this book. 3.5, 4-star read. If you're interested, check it out. I think it is still a good book. I think it's interesting, but just not my favorite and not going to be my next rec that everybody needs to go read. If you've read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, give me your thoughts. Were you disappointed by the ending? Did you think it went too fast? What did you rate it? Give me all that information. If you are wanting to read it, what is holding you back? What questions do you have that we can answer in the comments down below? And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around. And that is my review of The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
Would you stay till the morning light, or would you follow me?